We all know those GLP-1 injections work wonders, but that price tag almost gave me a heart attack when my insurance denied coverage. I was staring at a choice between paying my mortgage or paying for weight loss. Talk about a rock and a hard place. Then I found Elevate Health compounded semaglutide at just $58 with payment plans that don't require a second mortgage. Same medication, same results, but a price that real folks can actually afford. Visit joinelevate.com today. That's JOINELEVATE.com. Your wallet will be as happy as your waistline. This medication is not FDA approved.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
I'm Chris Stachiw.
And I'm Sean Liang.
And I'm Mike White.
Oh, he's back again.
Ooh.
And finally we're talking about Under Siege.
Woohoo! Can't wait!
Yeah, the excitement is palpable. Absolutely palpable in the air. You could cut it with a knife if you were a cook.
Not even a good cook.
I'm just a cook. Oh, Jesus. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about Under Siege from 1992. It is, I would say, Steven Seagal's most well-known film. And his most successful as well. But before we talk about Under Siege, Mike, have you been watching anything else this week?
Oh, have I ever? Yeah, I've been watching a whole lot of stuff in regard to our Celine and Julie Go Boating episode. So watching a lot of kind of surreal French films and Italian films and stuff. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. I also went to see The Nice Guys this morning. Not quite sure what I thought about that one yet.
So yeah, so I remember we were having a conversation about whether or not you were going to see X-Men Apocalypse or The Nice Guys at one point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've seen both now. Yes.
Yeah, you've seen both. So you're not sure what your take is, huh?
I'm not sure. I liked a lot of it. I kind of wish that it was a story about two adult men doing adult things, but then, Shane Black has to always throw a kid in it, and yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the kid in this one. I kind of wish that she just would have stayed home a little bit more because she was constantly in the action. And it's like, okay. And then their person that they were hunting down throughout the movie was also very annoying as well. So it's like...
Is that Matt Bomer, right?
No, I don't think so.
I thought that was the guy from American Horror Story. Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie.
Well, I'm talking about the girl that's...
Oh, the girl, not the, assassin guy?
Yeah, no. They're doing the little, cherchez la femme, and she is super annoying, and I just couldn't really stand her either.
Yeah, I want to see it, but I think I'll just wait until I can watch it elsewhere.
It's no Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Let's just put it that way.
So, yeah. So, even you've unsold me on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Why didn't you go see Warcraft, Mike?
No real interest in it. And plus, there's a beautiful bootleg that's available of that now. So,
oh, what are you talking about?
I don't know, but thank goodness for the internet.
Yeah, right. More like thank God for China.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not about to pay a penny for that piece of shit. So we'll see.
It's not bad.
Really?
I enjoyed it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was. I admittedly I have played the game, but I don't know any of the lore or anything, and the CGI work was fantastic.
Wow.
The CGI orcs were more convincing than the humans. So it's actually pretty entertaining if you're into fantasy and orcs and goblins and shit like that. It's pretty light fare. And if they do get a sequel made, I think the sequel actually will be pretty good. But I don't know why Duncan Jones directed it.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I didn't know Dominic Cooper was in it. And I saw him last night on Graham Norton's show, and when they were saying that he was in this movie, I was like, oh, okay. And that's what made me give it a chance. That's what made me click the download button.
Ooh, the download button. Mike is transparent with his phone. I always just say I get it on VOD, video on demand. I demand it, therefore I get it.
Exactly.
So. That's nice. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely worth the torrent to check out.
Okay.
It's pretty decent. It's way better than the 16% on Rotten Tomatoes it's sitting at.
Okay.
So yeah. And it's better than Batman, or excuse me, it's at 27%.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff. Like, also watched a documentary on Corla Pandit yesterday, which was pretty awesome. And I watched just Cell, the new. Speaking of on demand, it's the new Steven.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh my God!
Is it awful?
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a fucking bummer.
Well,
I love that book too.
It's kind of like the book, kinda, but a lot of the whole thing with the man in the Harvard sweatshirt, it's barely there, and the characterization is barely there. I mean, they basically hit all the points where you're like, oh, I remember this. Oh yeah, they blew up all these zombies in this field. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, it's not anything to write home about.
Man, what has John Cusack been doing recently?
Yeah, I wish I knew.
Right? Like, he was at Dallas Comic-Con, and I was so tempted to meet him. And then I was like, I liked him in High Fidelity, but recently it's just been, like, awful.
Yeah.
Like, straight to DVD level shit. I remember when the film adaptation of Cell was, like, going to be a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been sitting in development hell for, like, 10 years.
Well, yeah, it doesn't help that 2 movies called The Signal or something have come out since then, and all of these other films that have basically done the exact same idea.
But probably better.
Exactly.
And, Samuel L. Jackson and John Cusack. I almost said Joan Cusack. John Cusack, I don't know what they're up to. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is at least in some decent stuff, but John Cusack hasn't been anything good in a while.
I've never seen 1408, but I really had no desire to see that.
That's right. They were in that together.
I really liked that movie, actually. I was surprised that I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, like, shit, like, I was like, they're in a movie? Yeah, I forgot. That movie's decent.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird choice to do, like, a Stephen King short story that is just like a haunted house narrative.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of The Shining, too. It's very...
Oh, yeah.
It's like a not as well put together Shining.
Yeah.
Not enough moon landing theories.
You mean like his TV version of The Shining?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I always forget that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, man. They show a clip of the TV version of The Shining in Room 237 for like 2 seconds.
Do they
really?
Yeah, they do, because they have, they show, what's that actor's name? They show him driving in the car, and I was like, that's from the TV version of the show. Like the miniseries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Stephen King movies, real hit or miss.
Yeah.
I would say mostly miss, but off the top of my head, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to think of the
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Positive one, so I always go back to like Christine or The Dead Zone, some
or
of those.
Shining.
Yeah.
The Night Flyer.
The Tommy Knockers.
Never saw. Oh my God.
The Tommy Knockers. Oh, a movie that had potential and then just got ruined. ruined by the monsters. Oh,
kind of like it.
Oh, I have a special place in my heart for it because I love Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that movie's that was the thing. Like a lot of the Stephen King films, like the climax is just like it worked better or was different in the book, and it is like case 0 of that. Where all of a sudden they're just like fighting like a giant spider monster.
Yeah.
For no reason.
But the build is so beautiful. It's so great.
Actually, we're forgetting about the best adaptation, which is The Mist.
The Mist. I liked that.
I feel like Mike either doesn't like it or has never seen it.
No, I do like it. I especially like the ending of it.
Yeah, me too.
The ending is such a goddamn downer in the best way.
It's so good. Yeah. I was very happy with that one.
Yeah, that movie's good. That's like, I think that and The Shining. And I know everyone says like Shawshank or
Stand By Me.
Green Mile.
Green Mile.
Oh, that's right.
I don't like that movie. That movie is just no thanks.
You're not a big fan of the mystical black man?
No, the mystical Negro tropes?
Yes.
No, I'm not. And like I wrote a review, I did a review for the site about it I think last year, and I called it out. I was like, it's just like the magical Negro does a magical dance, the movie.
The
movie. It's like the boiled down concentrated version of the magical Negro trope.
Still not as horrible as the Legend of Bagger Vance, though.
Oh my God. Magical Negro is a ghost?
Yes.
The magical Negro ghost. He's not even an actual character. He's dead. Oh God.
Oh my God.
What about you, Sean? You been watching anything?
Other than The Comeback, I'm trying to finish that the second season still. I like rewatched Wes Craven's New Nightmare for fun. Oh, and then
so good.
I love that movie, yeah. And then I watched I watched GBF, Gay Best Friend, because I heard like it got way more hype than it. I mean, I just heard about it a lot and I wanted to check it out. And it's so basic. Oh my God, I'm so upset about it. But I guess I couldn't be too surprised by that. But yeah, nothing too great to write home about.
What have I been watching? Well, I plugged it on the last Kulturecast. I'm gonna plug it again. What is that? What's the Magic's Biggest Secrets finally revealed?
Oh, it's like breaking the magic, or
yeah, Mike knows exactly what I'm talking about. The Masked Magician, Val Valentino. If you've never seen it, it's on Netflix right now. It's like on the front of Netflix.
Yeah, I used to watch it with my mom all the time.
Yeah, definitely go watch that and like be amazed that the 90s got hyped for that. That was like a thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was like a thing that like people were like hyped as fuck about. Like, who is the Masked Magician? Is it Lance Burton? Is it David Copperfield?
Right.
Or is it this totally anticlimactic, weird looking guy with perfectly coiffed hair? I've been watching. I watched that. What else did I watch? If you're a fan of shows like Last Week Tonight, Real Time with Bill Maher, or I would say The Daily Show, but that show is not good anymore. You should check out Redacted Tonight, which is a online YouTube version of those shows done by a comedian named Lee Camp. And he does a decidedly non-biased spin on the news. And I want to say it's associated with the Russia Times, RT. So it's good. You know, I try not to bring a whole lot of politics into anything because I know a lot of people get really upset talking about that shit. So I more or less just listen to political stuff and don't talk about it. But that's I listen to a lot of podcasts and I watch stuff like that. So, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the one and only Lansing, Michigan's own Steven Seagal as a cook. Just a cook.
Just a lowly cook.
Just a lowly cook in Under Siege. Film came out in 1992, directed by Andrew Davis. Andrew Davis had directed such previous classics as The Fugitive, Above the Law, Chain Reaction. Well, he would direct Chain Reaction later.
Yeah, no, he didn't direct The Fugitive till after this one.
Yeah, so he directed these other movies, but this was like, you know, one of his, I would say this is like kind of his breakout hit a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a huge career as a cinematographer for a lot of years.
Right.
And then finally got into directing around 78, 79, something, including a TV short, which I would love to see, At Home with Shields and Yarnell, who were America's premier mimes for a while.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. They even had a variety show. It was pretty awesome.
Amazing.
And he had worked with Seagal previously in Above the Law, and that's one of the few Seagal films I haven't seen yet. Unfortunately, I actually thought Above the Law was Out for Justice. Yeah, it's not. Above the Law, he plays like a ex-Vietnam vet, I think. That sounds about right.
It's been a long time because I've seen almost all those early Seagals, and now he makes movies so often, it's just like, there's no way I can keep up.
One a day, more or less,
Pretty
and they're
much,
all the same.
It's like Takashi Miike of action stars. Yeah.
Yeah. Takashi Miike. Yeah. He's just in everything.
Yes.
Yeah. The IMDb synopsis.
I think he's got 10 films coming out. I'm not even kidding. He's got. I'm saying Steven Seagal has like, okay, no, I take it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 7 films coming out in 2016 alone.
Steven Seagal.
Yes.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy shit. That's astounding.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. That's like Nicolas Cage level. That's more.
It's Nicolas Cage level.
The IMDb synopsis for the film, though, is a former SEAL, now cook, is the only person who can stop a gang of terrorists when they seize control of a U.S. Navy battleship. Mike, what's your quick take on the film?
I love Under Siege. I saw it theatrically and just absolutely love it. And, people boiled it down to Die Hard on a Boat, but that's okay. I'm absolutely fine with that. I would watch Die Hard on a Boat and this is fantastic.
And, when people say it's Die Hard on a Boat, I mean, that's not like derogatory, right? I mean, Die Hard's a good movie.
Oh, yeah. But they were doing, Die Hard on this, Die Hard on that. And really, it was just the nice shorthand for terrorists take over something and a lone man has to take care of the terrorists. But hey, it works. And then it's not even necessarily a lone man after a while because you've got Erica Laniak going on. And then you've got like his like kind of band of heroes at one point. So yeah, bring it on. I love it.
You got Troy Evans and Damian Chapa, who we did an interview with, and we'll play that here in a bit. Sean, what about you? I'm assuming this is the first time you'd ever seen this film.
Of course.
That's like most of the time now. Sean, have you ever seen this? Nope. Okay, well.
This is also like my first Steven Seagal movie, so like.
Ooh, yeah. See, that was the same boat I was in.
Yeah. You started at the top. You can only work your way down now.
Hold on, fire down below is the top, Mike. He's an EPA agent who also is into mysticism, okay? It makes sense.
There's some good parts in On Deadly Ground, I'll give you that. And, I mean, really, like, his stuff before Under Siege, I liked a lot, like Marked for Death. But, yeah, you've got nowhere. You cannot go up from here.
It's true.
That's encouraging.
Don't be tempted to watch the sequel. Do not be tempted to watch the sequel.
I'm going to watch the sequel.
Oh, no.
Is it like Speed 2 bad?
I've never seen Speed 2. I've dodged that bullet, but it's pretty darn bad, which is awful because I like Eric Bogosian a lot, but he is just chewing that scenery, buddy, and just... I mean, the thing that always gets me is that he's got this computer program that's running, and spoilers, Ryback comes in and shoots the computer monitor, and that's what stops the program. And it's like, oh, come on.
Isn't that how it works?
Yeah.
That's not how computers work?
Well, if you type too fast on a computer, like smoke and fire will start coming out of it.
Yeah, I know. Or like in the Teenage Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze, where they enter the password wrong once, and the computer just like fills up with green text, and then like explodes. That's not how a computer works?
That is how it works.
That's how mine works, at least.
Yeah, right. How do you Google? Tell me.
Yeah. I thought this movie was funny. I think if I had seen it when I was younger, especially, I would have loved it. I did like it though. It kind of reminds me of like, I mean, it's definitely that sort of that formula. It's the but it also kind of reminded me of movies like Lethal Weapon and just really fun, violent movies. Yeah, I don't know. It was just it was easy to watch. It was entertaining. I mean, as long as I get to watch Gary Busey scare the hell out of me in drag, I'm pretty much I'm set after that. So
yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I think makes it way better than it should have had any right to be. Like the inclusion of Gary Busey and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I think Tommy Lee Jones in anything automatically makes your movie like
brilliant.
Well, I mean, wasn't he in that fucking movie where he's like a Texas Ranger at UT protecting a bunch of like sorority girls, man of the house.
Oh yeah.
So no, not everything. That rule is not always true.
Well, I found a lot of similarities between that and No Country for Old Men myself, but
Oh my god. Oh my god, no. The inclusion of the actors in this film, make this film better than what it should have been. I mean, and you could kind of say that for Die Hard too. Not Die Hard 2, just Die Hard. Die Hard 1, it could have been a really shitty, straightforward movie, but you have Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman, and William Atherton. It really elevates the film way more than it almost has any right to be, because otherwise it's just kind of a straightforward, by the books action movie. But, and I know Steven Seagal gets a lot of shit, and I think some of it is deserved, because he's kind of become like a parody of himself at this point. Like Steven Seagal, lawman, like, oh my God, like, come on, dude. But, he's decent enough as a leading man.
yeah, he carries this film.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I say that and then I like think to myself, like, should I have said that?
Well, I have to say that that's something that I was looking at, because I've only seen like post-millennium Steven Seagal. So I don't know. It was interesting to see him as a leading man.
Post-millennium Steven Seagal? You mean like post-1998?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like he stopped making, the last film that he made that was a studio production was Fire Down Below, and he directed it on top of everything else. No, he produced it. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously he's directing movies now.
I still think my favorite Steven Seagal film is Executive Decision.
See, I've never seen that either. But he plays like a bit part, right?
Yeah, but it's played out like it's going to be a Steven Seagal film. Like, I had no idea when I went to see it. And when he gets sucked out of a plane like 20 minutes into the film, it's just like, wow, okay.
Thanks, ruining it for me, Mike. I'm just kidding. It totally shows its hand in the trailer, where you can totally tell that he like eats shit like 10 minutes into the movie, like Scream style, more or less. I mean, that's what the trailer reminded me of. I was like, oh, Drew Barrymore, like in Scream, they have like a big name associated with the movie, and then they die immediately.
Yeah. Not to say that isn't like a Psycho kind of a thing, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. But for some of our more millennial viewers,
okay, all right.
Come on. It was done by Psycho, you fucking idiot. I mean, I know that, but I mean, some people haven't seen Gus Van Sant's version of Psycho, so they wouldn't know that.
Oh, right.
God.
I've always wanted to see The Glimmerman. I will tell you that I've always wanted to see that, because the title, The Glimmerman, always reminds me of like, what if he was like a Jewish superhero?
Hey, I'm the Glimmerman. What are you doing? The Glimmerman is actually like a stupid ass movie that it's like, what happens if Steven Seagal and Keenen Ivory Wayans were in Seven? I mean, that is clearly what that movie is trying to ape.
Wow.
Is Seven.
Just because you have a library card doesn't mean that you're Yoda.
I mean, I'm not kidding when I say The Glimmerman is Seven with Seagal.
You pretty much sold me on that movie now.
Right? Like, you're welcome. Now you want to watch it and just be like, this is the best. I need to see it. Having watched all but like 2, I think 3. I haven't seen Under Siege 2. I haven't seen On Deadly Ground, and I haven't seen Above the Law. I haven't seen those 3 yet, but I've seen all the other ones. I'll say that I think this one is close to being my favorite Seagal, but I really like Out for Justice, where he plays the aptly titled Gino Foligno. And he fights William Forsythe, who just like is such a goddamn great asshole villain in that movie. But there's like a scene where he's like fighting dudes in like a mob bar, and he's just like beating the shit out of them with a pool ball wrapped in a handkerchief.
Nice.
And he's like whacking dudes' teeth out and shit. Like, that scene just makes the film, like, just makes it for me. So it's like, it's close, but, you know, I could see why this film is really kind of exalted as this, you know, the Steven Seagal film to watch, though, because the cast is so good. And, you know, Seagal isn't for what most people, I think, go for. Most people find Steven Seagal to be extremely grating as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that so many people in the film also think that he's an a-hole. You know, like Busey is not a fan. Tommy Lee Jones obviously not a fan. But there's like just a lot of people where it's just like, oh man, you know, like you're especially Busey, I guess, just the way that he is basically like, you know, you're the commander's pet kind of thing, and you know, you really aren't all that. And of course, he's underestimating him, but really he gets to tear down Seagal quite a few times, which is nice.
Yeah, you know, you're totally right. They don't do Seagal any favors with the dialogue in this movie. He's just kind of like a dickhead.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's like that in real life though. So
I've never heard anything nice about him. I just heard a great story on We Hate Movies where somebody was saying that they were saw him on the set of On Deadly Ground and ran up to him like they were a little kid and ran up to him and were, you know, like hoping to speak to him or get an autograph or something. And apparently he was getting ready for a take and basically like leaned over and just like, you're a little piece of shit. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then when I talked to Mike Starr, he's in On Deadly Ground, and I just sent you via Skype the best part of On Deadly Ground, which is the slap fight, the barroom slap fight that they have. And he didn't have very many nice things to say about Mr. Seagal either.
You know, and I spoke, like I mentioned, we're going to play an interview with Damian Chapa here in a little bit. He had nice things to say about Steven Seagal.
Well, that's good.
So, you know, I mean, I don't know who to believe, right? Like, I think it's whoever's mind frame and mindset you're coming at. You know, he probably thought he was hot shit in the 90s, and he was treated like hot shit in the 90s for sure. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it totally like went to his head.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah, I think in a lot of his movies, he just comes off as like a disinterested dick. Like, and the way he like delivers the lines, like just whispering all the time.
He's that genial charm. He's like that lovable douche.
I don't know where he learned to act, but the whispering school of acting is a very interesting school for sure.
Well, the thing that always gets me with him is that he's not the most photogenic fighter either. Like, I'm not sure what school of martial arts he kind of adheres to.
Aikido.
Okay. But, you know, you watch, you know, we're talking last week about Ip Man and stuff, and watching that, it's like so visual and so exciting and stuff. And when it comes to a Steven Seagal fight, it kind of reminds me of like a kid on a playground, like really like kind of slap happy and stuff, like the kid you would call a spaz and who was eating paste all the time. That's like his fighting style to me. It's just like, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with Seagal, right? Is, you know, after I did some research on Aikido and kind of was reading about it. So Aikido is using your opponent's momentum and like redirecting it and like, you know, and using like throws to terminate them like fighting. And that's not a very photogenic style to shoot in a movie, because like you mentioned, it ends up just kind of looking like he's throwing dudes around and smacking them in the face.
Right.
Like he's just like slap fighting.
I mean,
so
even when it comes to Under Siege, like I'm trying to think of his fights, but I think the biggest fight is the one that he has with Tommy Lee Jones towards the end with the knife. Yeah. And again, that kind of looks like almost like slap fighting, but at least they dub in a lot of knife kind of sound effects and stuff. So I'm like, okay, there's some danger here. That knife is sharp kind of thing. But otherwise, it just looks like he's like, give me the knife, stop.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like in a lot of the other Steven Seagal films, it's relying on his martial arts ability to carry his fight scenes in the film. In this one, there's not a lot of hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
It's all about like him just like, you know, mowing down dudes with Uzis.
Yeah, right. Setting up bombs and microwaves, you know.
Yeah.
I like that whole idea of like him being this cook and having to use what he's got available to him, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
And then they drop it like right after he makes the bomb in the microwave.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the last time it happens.
Yeah, I was hoping he would like grab like, a knife or maybe like a blender and like make like a weapon out of it, because he's supposed to be like a Navy SEAL, so he's supposed to have these, these skills to like improvise. And now he's like, I just pick these guns up and mow these clowns down.
Right.
What was it? Yeah. Then he does like MacGyver those missiles like with a condom and like,
Yeah.
That's true. He also, one of my favorite kill in the film is the hapless schlub who opens the door as Tommy Lee Jones is like, no, don't do that. And the grenade explodes and the door crushes him.
yeah.
It like explodes and like slams him into the ground, like fucking dead. There's some things in this film that I think gloss over the problems that a lot of people have with Seagal, which is, his martial arts style not being particularly exciting, or his ability to deliver dialogue just feeling extremely stilted and it's not even realistic. The way he delivers dialogue just doesn't feel like he has any idea what he's doing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's almost like super. I mean, it kind of, I don't know. It sort of makes sense. It looks like raw, gritty, and realistic, sort of. And I feel like that's something that definitely happened after the 90s. I don't know if it may have happened before then, but I noticed that, like, in the movies that I like to watch when I was a kid, that grittiness and, like, not clean sort of reaction to kung fu movies. But it kind of dulled it down for me in this movie, the fight sequences, because like there aren't a lot of them.
Yeah, like I don't know how this really works in our martial arts month.
Yeah,
because it's like not a martial arts movie.
Yeah, it's tangential.
Right, exactly.
It's a Seagal movie, so it counts because it's got Seagal in it, and he's an Aikido master. What did you guys think of some of the other performances in the film, namely Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Busey, and Erica Eleniak?
Busey was just amazing. And especially, I mean, God, they set him up with so many great lines, especially when he's there in the
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror. We'll cover all the subgenres, so join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Rest with the stocking on his head, and he does the whole, do I look like I need a psychological evaluation? Just
so good.
Great stuff.
He was really fun. I'd never seen Gary Busey in a movie before either, so it was kind of cool to see him not as his insane self. That was cool. But I really loved Tommy Lee Jones, and I feel like I think we said this already, and like this is a given, but like he totally kind of made the movie for me. It was just really fun. Just such a
I love Gary Busey in like everything I see him in.
He's so scary.
He is. He's very unhinged, and I think that Tommy Lee Jones plays very unhinged in this film as well, which is terrific. So, and it's great having these two villains where you really don't know, what they're going to do next, and just the way that like Tommy Lee Jones is kind of trying to exert some control over Gary Busey, and I really like their dynamic that they had in this.
And, they always just kind of think like Gary Busey's a crazy person in real life. I don't know, but I definitely will say this much. Tommy Lee Jones, it seems like he can go in and out of the craziness. And I don't know if Gary Busey has like an off switch.
Yeah.
I think that's like what the problem is, that everyone's like, Gary Busey's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care. But I think that helps with Gary Busey's performance, because his ability to just go for it is great in this movie. I mean, he's all over the place in this film.
Absolutely. I think that's why I liked watching him in this movie. I was surprised because I've only seen him as himself, So it's kind of nice to put that into a character. It's believable. It's more believable than it is him just being crazy.
Sean, he's been in some really good stuff. You should definitely check out, Point Break is great. His turn in The Buddy Holly story is amazing. Like, you would never think that that's the same guy.
Okay.
And then him as another crazy villain, but as Joshua in Lethal Weapon, so good.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I totally forgot.
He does it up right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and check him out because
the sin that I have never watched Lethal Weapon. Someday I will watch it.
Ooh, I've even seen that one.
Well, then talk about a great cast too. He's one of many amazing people in Predator 2. So that's definitely something to check out as well. And he's also very strong. I mean, he's got a small role, but he's very strong in The Firm, which is probably the only adaptation of a John Grisham book that I like.
Ooh.
I like The Firm, and I'd never seen it until like 2 years back, and then I watched The Pelican Brief last month. Man, The Pelican Brief is so bad.
Yeah.
Compared to the book?
Yeah.
Like, just completely writing characters out of the movie? I don't understand why that's a thing.
And if you want to see more Busey and Erica Eleniak, they're both in Chasers together.
I mean, I would always like to see more Erica Eleniak. To be fair, I think we saw everything that you need to see of Erica Eleniak.
Yeah, that's true.
Between this and the fact that she was actually a legit Playboy playmate.
What's freaky now is go back and watch E.T. and see her in that and be like, oh my God, that's that Erica Eleniak. That cute little girl is Erica Eleniak.
Oh.
I always remember her from Bordello of Blood.
Oh, yeah.
The Tales from the Crypt film. The one with Captain Crazy himself, Dennis Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Talk about no filter. Talk about a gentleman with no filter. Mr. Dennis Miller. Well, let's take a moment. The interview I did with Damian Chapa, and when we get back, we'll finish up talking about the film. So, how did you initially get involved with the film Under Siege and your role in the film as Tackman?
Well, you know, I'm a veteran. I was in the United States Navy for many years, and I served on the United States ship Suribachi, which is an ammunition ship. I served on the USS Henry B. Wilson, which was a guided missile destroyer, and I did a few days on the USS America, which is a aircraft carrier. So when Andy Davis, the director, wonderful director, by the way, he brought me in for the Steven Seagal and Tommy Lee Jones co-star, they thought it was appropriate that I'd done some time already on 3 different ships, not to mention I just had done a very big film with Taylor Hafford called Blood In, Blood Out. And so all those things together, synchronicity, I think that's probably why they chose me out of a lot of people. I was a very big film, so I was very fortunate to get the part.
And so how did your previous military experience kind of translate into what they were expecting from you on set?
That's a good question. I think from my experience with the film, you know, when you're in the Navy and, you know, people are filming you in the Navy, there's a sort of a relaxed thing that happens when you're on a Navy ship. You know, when you're out in the middle of the Indian Ocean like we were and the med crews and, you know, going through the Suez Canal with a gun strapped around you during the struggles in the 80s, you know, there's a certain relaxation that happens to you after going through boot camp and, you know, being set up the gun on watch through these things. So there's a certain amount of relaxation that is apparent to somebody who would have been in the Navy, you know, and there's a lot of joking, yet underneath there's a very serious thing when you're in general quarters. But when you're a bunch of men out there, at the time it was only men, you know, there's a certain way you act. You know, it's not so melodramatic as people would suspect if you weren't a part of a real Navy ship like I was. You know, you're always trying to joke because you're out in the middle of the ocean and you're trying to have a good time because all you have is a certain amount of feet to walk in and walk to and a certain amount of people, you know, and, you know, you got to stick together and you got to try to have fun. And I think that experience that I had in so many different ships and so many different oceans that I traveled and seas, I think it was apparent. And that kind of experience can only be real if it's if it's a real experience like I had.
And did you try to impress that upon your co-stars in the film?
Yeah, I remember, being around some of the guys, like Tommy Lee Jones. When I was around him and we go back and forth on the van back to the hotel, he is such a cool, brilliant actor that, he automatically had this kind of feeling that a lot of the guys had on my Navy ship. So he was pretty cool. And Gary Busey was interesting to work with. He kind of had I don't know if Gary was in the Navy or not. It's been so long, or the military, but he kind of had it going on. And, he had so much experience. But some of the newcomers, they asked me questions. What was it like? And, how did it feel to be, in the Navy and in the military at the time? And so I think I gave them a few pointers back then. But not to mention, we were in Alabama, and I believe it was the Missouri. I might be wrong.
It was the Missouri.
Yeah, it was the USS Missouri. It was a decommissioned ship. So the great thing about it was Andy Davis, who's a brilliant director, he had us shoot a lot of the stuff on a real ship. So, that whole feeling came back to me every time I crossed, the quartermaster. That whole feeling came back of saluting and the feeling of being in the military and, being in the Navy, because we were on a real ship. So it was real. It was real. And, Seagal was, I really enjoyed working with Seagal. I think, I worked with all of the martial artists. I worked with Van Damme, and I worked with Texas Walker Ranger. I worked with, a lot of guys who are real, martial artists. And out of all of them I worked with, Chuck Norris being, Texas Walker Ranger guy, who was a wonderful guy. I love working with him. He's a real gentleman. But all these guys, and if I had to choose between Seagal and Van Damme, I would choose Seagal for sure. I think he'd tear him up.
And so, Steven Seagal, I think there's a little bit of a mystique around him, obviously, with kind of his persona in films and then on screen, and like Steven Seagal, Lawman, and all that. What was he like to be around on set?
Yeah, he was, I got to be honest with you. I really, really, really liked him. And I'm not the kind of person that says that if I don't mean it. There's a lot of these actors out there, they say things just for political correctness. Obviously anybody knows me knows I'm probably one of the least politically correct people in the world as an actor, because I just say what I feel. But I really enjoyed time with him. He brought a few of us in his inner circle, and I happened to be one of them. And he's a real man's man, and I appreciated that a lot. Coming from a family of men's men, he's a real guy. He's the real thing, and he was a great guy, man. He brought me in, and I was a young actor then, and it was all new to me, and I was excited to do the movie, but I was still a bit nervous, and he really relaxed me a lot, and was really a cool guy. Showed me a few moves, and we talked a lot about certain things that we agreed upon back then, and he was a guy that I think was ahead of his time. You see these fear mongers like Alex Jones and all this and that are talking, trying to play against the government and all that, but all really what they're trying to do is sell things, sell more, vitamins or whatever. But Seagal was ahead of his time. He would speak about things nobody else would speak about back then. And you're talking about the early 90s, before any of these so-called, revolutionary type guys came in. Seagal was always the kind of guy that spoke his mind, and, he was just a natural. I hadn't seen anybody in a long time that was like Seagal, other than Brando. He kind of reminded me a little bit of, which I later played, by the way, Brando. He had a mystique like Brando, where he was a real man's man, but yet he obviously wasn't the great actor that Brando was, but he was a real guy, and he was the real thing. And, I really enjoyed working with him, and would love to do so again, to be honest with you.
So in the film, you play one of the sailors who ends up teaming up with Seagal later in the film. Tell me about what it was like to, film with him, some of the action set pieces later in the film that you guys had together.
Well, at that time, he was a big star, and I was just up and coming. And, he made it very comfortable for his inner circle, and I was one of those guys that he really helped out a lot, made comfortable. And during the action scenes, he was a smart guy. He listened to the director. I think Seagal knows which directors to listen to. And Andy Davis was one of them. Andy Davis is the kind of guy that you listen to because he knows what he's doing. He's a brilliant director, especially action director. And I think that he made it so comfortable. So, he was great to work with. When we did all the action stuff, he would talk us through it. He would make sure everything was secure. Anyway, but he really talked us through it. He cared about people. He was, I don't know his reputation, but I'm not very much of a recluse. So basically, he has a reputation, I hear, whatever. But I loved working with him, and he was very good to me. And to me, that's all I know because I'm such a recluse. I don't hang out with very many people, and he was pretty cool with me.
You've mentioned Gary Busey and Tommy Lee Jones, and you've talked a little bit about Andrew Davis. He's a pretty well-known, in the 90s, he was obviously, The Fugitive, Under Siege. What was he like to work with? You've mentioned the action scenes, but what was he like to work with just in general?
Well, Andy was, to me, one of my favorite directors I've worked with. I mean, obviously Taylor Hackford with Blood and Blood Out was, the guy that started my career, so I have a lot of wonderful things to say about him, but because Blood and Blood Out was probably one of my best experiences. But Andy is a very serious director, and he's a very loyal guy. He's also a man's man, and I really enjoyed working with him. He was so good to me and made me feel comfortable. And I was just a young actor, new at the game. He's a very serious director, or at least at the time he was. And he's a very organized guy, He's not one of these guys, at least from my experience, that, that is a real kind of artsy-fartsy guy. He's more of a real serious guy, almost militant in a way, but yet with a real strong sense of duty and a sense to his cast and his crew. And he was somebody you immediately respect and you immediately look up to as a director. And I can't say that about many directors, but he was one of them that, he walks in a room and you just want to listen to the guy because he knows what he's doing and he knows what direction he's taking. So I really love to work with him.
So what scene, if any, stood out to you in the film as maybe your favorite one to work on?
There were so many scenes that were really fun doing. The thing about Under Siege is it was a lot of action, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was young then, and I was really virile and very energetic and in great shape. And, it was fun. They had us going around this whole ship and doing all this action. And, I would have to say every part of it was great for me. I just loved working. But on Under Siege, the end scene where we gather around Seagal and all that, it was a really beautiful scene because we'd done most of the work. And it was close to the end of the shoot anyway. And my father, Rolando Chapa, was there. He's passed away since. And my uncles, they all came down and they came on the set. And Erica Laniak was there. And she was such a sweetheart that she made my pops and my uncles feel very comfortable. And that day was very memorable to me because you have this big scene where everybody's coming together and we won, we beat the bad guys, so to speak, and the wind started to pick up, and the wind blew, and the cameras are rolling, and you could feel like a great success before the film was even cut, and that's where, you could just feel because of Andy, because of his organization, because of his big plans and big sets and big action, and great choice of actors like Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, I would just sit and watch Tommy Lee Jones sometimes when some of my scenes weren't on. And, when you watch that guy work, I mean, he's just such a brilliant artist to watch. And I think the combination of great actors like Tommy Lee Jones and, I was kind of the comic relief, so, most of the time I play heavies and gangsters, but I had a chance to be a little bit comedic yet strong. So, that was fun. And that whole feeling of all these different artists that Andy chose, like, Seagal, working with Tommy Lee Jones is a unique choice, but I think he was smart enough to surround him with wonderful actors, and I think Seagal stepped up to play for that film because he was surrounded by such talent like Tommy Lee Jones and others, and of course Gary was great in the movie too. And, people can say whatever they want about Gary Busey, but he's a brilliant actor. I know Gary on a personal level, and I don't know, like I said, I don't follow much things. I don't watch TV. I don't get involved in gossip, this, that, because, I stay focused on work. I'm pretty much a workaholic. And, I don't really, I know that there's some, because people mention this and that, this personality thing, but see, I know him in another way. I mean, I know him to be, what I know about him is he's a good-hearted guy. I don't know what he said or what he's done. Maybe he said some crazy things, but when he was, and he's not the easiest guy to work with, but it's like Faye Dunaway, same thing, but when you get these genius performances and look at Van Gogh. I mean, Van Gogh cut his ear off. And the guy was a madman. I mean, can you imagine trying to hang out with Van Gogh? By the way, here's my ear. Can you go send that to my girlfriend? So, artists sometimes are mad as hatters, but, look at their art. If you look at them, I look at them for their art because I'm a director now, too. And, if I looked at everybody for their personality, especially some of these whack jobs that are so-called newscasters, which are really just propaganda machines for the left or the right, whichever game team they're on, their personalities are, like robots. So I know that some people don't like him and some people don't like his personality, but for me as an artist, the guy, I remember when he was in El Padrino, I directed him in El Padrino with Faye Dunaway, Jennifer Tilly, Gary was in Busey, Stacy Keach, Kathleen Quinlan, Joanna Pakula. It was one of my biggest casts in one of my films, and he gave a great performance in that film, and he really made the film. Behind the scenes were a little difficult, but when you get such a performance like that, I don't know now what he's like. I have no idea. You could educate me on that maybe, but back then when I was working him, he was just brilliant.
I think he's one of those actors that just personally, I think he just gets a bad rap. That's just my take on Gary Busey, is I think he just gets a bad rap because, I don't know, people like to give certain actors a hard time. That's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah, but knowing Gary the way I do, he probably said what he felt to somebody, and they didn't like it, so then he gets blackened or blackballed, whatever, and this happens to so many brilliant artists, Hollywood, to me, I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. I think I've even said it even more vehemently than I am now. I've kind of calmed down, but Hollywood is not what people think it is. Hollywood is it's like Washington D.C., man. You either get your political correct facts together, or you will not be in the game, and this is what I despised about it, I despised being in a place that I thought was the place of artists that got together to express themselves, whether they like what each other think politically or whether they like what each other feel, religiously or whatever, that you could get together and make movies and make films that, creatively you were happy about working together. And that's the problem with Hollywood, is people are, they're too busy worried about what somebody's doing in his home or what he thinks about this or that political thing, and instead of looking at his brilliance, as an artist, because really in the end, that's what all that should matter. None of us are going to get along and think exactly alike. And I wish Hollywood in general would start looking at the artist and the artistic endeavor instead of the personal beliefs of the artist,
No, I completely agree. I mean, discounting someone on their political views, I think, is a little bit of a waste of time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it happens all the time, and I've seen so much of it that it made me want to, I actually left the business for a few years because of it. But I came back because I started to realize that I can't let, things that are wrong with our business destroy me from wanting to be a creative artist. I couldn't give up, so I came back. And, it was with El Padrino years back, and I started doing my own thing. And I realized, you didn't have to, you can be in Hollywood, but you have your own Hollywood, And, I was considered a bit of an outsider for a while, and I kind of got back in a little bit. I actually developed a nickname called the Outlaw, which I didn't even know was named me until a few years back. And I was like, I look on IMDb and it says nickname Outlaw, and I was like, who the hell started that routine?
Let me ask you. So you mentioned that you kind of walked away for a while to kind of let some of the emotions kind of die down. I'm curious, when you left versus when you came back to working in Hollywood, what was that like for you? Kind of coming back to this different world, as it were.
I've been with Chuck Bender for many years. He's Sharon Stone's manager and many other great artists' manager along with mine. And Chuck stuck with me through a lot of difficult and down times, and so did I with him. And, when you have somebody like Chuck Bender that's behind you, and it sticks behind you after, I've been with him for like 20 years now. And that kind of loyalty is a real nice thing, because, he stuck with me whether I was working or not, or whether I decided, because he's the kind of manager that, believes in the person involved for the long haul. And that's what I liked about him. And I was so glad that, for these so many years that he was my manager, because he stuck with me through a lot of things that I really, really, loyalty is hard to find, especially in Hollywood, but when you get a few people that are loyal to you and you can sort of emotionally, mentally, and physically bank on that, then you're doing good, If you get a couple, 3, 4 people that are loyal to you, and you can count on some people, like my publicist, and my manager, you can stick out the tough times, and that's what I felt like.
So, Hollywood, obviously, I feel like you said, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say secret bureaucracy, but like you said, it's not what people think it is. For a lot of people, you live in Spain now, so you're relatively far removed from Hollywood, the location itself. Have you noticed, or what is kind of your experience like living where you live now and working, the way you're working now?
Well, I would love to say I live in Spain, but I've lived all over Europe for the last 4 years, and even back in LA for a little while. So for me, I've kind of developed this thing, like I go where the work is, or I go where I develop the work. I worked in Germany on a movie named Father Rupert Meyer with the producer Nicola Meyer, and Nicola Meyer and I made a movie. She was a producer, German producer, where it was about a Catholic priest who was in the concentration camps trying to save people. And Hitler didn't like him, so he shut him up and put him in Sachsenhausen for 5 years, which is a camp. I did that movie in Germany with Stacy Keach and Daryl Hannah. That was very recent. So I was in Germany. I was in, of course, a few years back, I was doing Polanski, Unauthorized, the only movie ever done about Polanski. I did that in Belgium, lived there for a while. I really love Belgium. Belgium's a beautiful classical place. And then I lived in Amsterdam and did a few small movies. And then Spain, I did one movie and plan on doing more. And then I went back to LA and I did a couple of movies. So for me, I'm really kind of living. I've been in Europe for quite a few years, but I have been back in LA again recent. But the way I do it now is, the world, as they say, is getting smaller, and for example, I can do all my work for example, I can edit a movie and, you know, send things to editors and post-production outlets or, you know, distributors wherever I'm at in the world now. So this is a great thing about it, about being an independent filmmaker that can move around so much and be, you know, it's so nice to be able to move around because you can, you know, you can make your work wherever you're at. This is the thing we didn't have early on, you know. In the early years, you know, I had to do film. I had to shoot 35 millimeter film, and
right.
And you know, you had to have all these big trucks and boxes, and you couldn't do what we do now, which is, you know, do HD and, you know, send stuff online and have it back and forth in the next 20 minutes. It's really an amazing world we live in, you know. If you look at technology in that way, in a good way, sometimes it's good for us, you know. There's a lot of great things. And there's some few setbacks too, but I think overall the way I live now is so much more exciting because I could be anywhere. I could fly to LA tonight and cut my movie and send it to a guy in Germany or Spain or Italy or Ireland. And by the way, I lived in Ireland too and did a movie there. I really love Ireland a lot. I mean, if it was up to me, I would stay in Ireland.
Yeah.
But work would have it that I had to leave. But I really, really love the Irish people. And Ireland is one of the most beautiful countries I've ever seen. So, you know, what a place to film. Amazing.
So you mentioned that you transitioned to being a director, and I've spoken to some other actors who have, you know, become directors as well and kind of transitioned into being directors. How does that compare for you as an artist, being a director versus an actor?
Well, you know, the good thing is I'm able to hang on to my acting abilities and endeavors by, you know, putting myself in my movies, which is, you know, a fun thing, and, you know, and I can kind of tailor certain parts that I want to play for myself. So it's a great thing to be able to direct and act at the same time. Not many people have chosen to do that, you know. It's a hard thing to do, you know. It's a hard thing to do. There's only, I'd say, about 5 or 6 people that I can think of that do that write, direct, produce, and act in their films. So, you know, it's a hard thing to do, but I have a lot of energy, you know. And when you have a lot of energy like myself, it's okay, please open the door, please. Thank you. But the transition for me was, you know, I was just an actor early on, you know. And you know, I think I didn't think too much about being a director early on. Acting was a lot, like, you know, working in the Taylor Hackford movie was, you know, we shot Blood and Blood Out for like 6 months. Taylor Hackford's like a grandiose director who, you know, he doesn't do anything small. Everything's big with him. Everything's grandiose, and you know, he does it till he does it right, you know. So I learned a lot by watching Taylor Hackford direct, I think. That's when I started to put the seeds of directing was planted in me back then, but it didn't really come to full fruition until I think it was in 2002, where I wanted to do a movie about this evangelist. His name was Leroy Jenkins, and it was a movie called Man of Faith. And that is when I did that movie and I directed it, I made a big movie because I'd been a studio guy and I'd learned from all these big studio guys, you know, big studio directors, you know, and I'd met, you know, like Taylor Hackford. I worked with him, Andy Davis, and many more big directors, you know, and William Fraker, the best DP that probably ever hit Hollywood. I mean, he was a wonderful friend, and he did Rosemary's Baby. He also did Street Fighter, the movie I did as an actor only, and I learned a lot from him. And, you know, making movies with all these great DPs and directors, you know, kind of turned me into a director later on because I'd learned how to make big movies. You know, I was a studio movie actor. I was at big A-list films, $50, $60, $40 million movies. And then I went all the way down, so to speak, in class, making these very, 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 very ultra micro, you know, micro-budgeted films, but with the big history of making big films as an actor. So I knew how to do the angles. I knew how to do the shoot. I knew what I wanted to do and what I needed to do in order to make the film look bigger than it was, because I was trained by some of the best, especially William Franker, take guys like Taylor Hackford. You can't get better than those guys. And so when you're on a micro-budgeted set, but you have beautiful locations, great actors like, Faye Dunaway and Stacy Keach and, wonderful people like that, and you're doing a movie, and Brad Dourif, who was also in the movie, I love working with him, he's genius. And when you get all these great actors and you get great locations, but you don't have these big budget films, you can still make them feel big if you have the history of working with these guys, because you know what to do, and the main thing is the coverage. You know how to cover the movie. I mean, if you cover a film and you have the right lighting, man, an editor's job is so much easier. Of course, you have to have the vision. You have to have the vision. Really, what directing is having a vision. What directing to me was, and I started to, get better, obviously, as I got older, but really what it is, it's like taking a jigsaw puzzle and throwing it on the floor, throwing it in the garden, and already knowing where the pieces are going to be before anybody finds the pieces on the floor. That's what a director's job is. And that's why not everybody can direct, because it's so hard to direct, and yet it's a gift, So if you have a gift that God gave you, or in my opinion, I believe that's a gift that was given to me, that, you're able to put all these pieces together in a short period of time with not a lot of money, then, you're able to do it well. And most people don't realize, that's why there's, many people have made films, but not everybody's a director, That's why you probably have seen so many movies that, like, you can't even sit through, because not everybody can direct. You can make a movie, but it doesn't mean you're a director. And directors have a vision. They understand how to put the beginning, the middle, the end, to make a story, to make emotions, to have subtlety making those emotions. That is a big key also that a lot of people don't understand. There's a real subtlety to putting that jigsaw puzzle together, So that transition for me happened when I did Man of Faith with Brad Dourif. And, it was a wonderful, Faye Dunaway was also in that. And, that's when I really started to pick up directing, because I'd already been around all the directors, the wonderful directors. So I had a kind of a head start, I was really lucky. I didn't go to school per se, but I'd been on the job training.
Right. Well, and, I think that that's something that is maybe not undervalued, but a lot of people overlook that, a lot of these actors, wow, how can you be a director? How can you be a director? Well, because I've been working on sets forever, and I've been working with the great directors, and, I've seen how they've been working.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's probably it. And, with the gift, you gotta have the gift to direct. It's like a talent, people can sing. Like I tried singing, I could, if I sing, I think people would hide under their cars, to prevent from listening to my voice. I just have no singing ability at all. But, I've been blessed with the ability to act and direct, and you either have the talent or you don't, just like you have the talent to sing or you don't. And I don't have the talent to sing. I don't have the talent to play golf. I don't have a lot of talents, but the talents I do have, I worked it on, and there's a certain amount of work. And by watching great directors who do have the talent, but also have the capability in the work ethic and the work ethic. I mean, directing is a lot of work. I mean, there are directors out there that have the talent, but they don't have the work ethic. And so that's why a lot of them don't get their films finished. And and maybe they're even too crazy, like we talked about earlier, like Van Gogh, I mean, thank God he got a lot of movies, pieces of art finished. But I'm sure there's times where he didn't finish because of his madness. There's some directors that are brilliant, but they don't, there's a combination as a director, in my opinion. You have to have the talent, but you also have to have a lot of hard work. It is so hard to make a movie. People don't realize it. It's even harder than people think it is. Waking up early, dealing with all these crew members, dealing with personalities. I mean, that's the big thing. Gathering 40, 50, and some instances on micro budget, 20 people together for a month, and big films, 3 months, 2 months, 3 months. gathering all these people together, even with money, is hard. Can you imagine without money? And without a lot of money, it's very difficult to gather all these things together and make a beautiful bouquet. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
So you've mentioned working, on films that don't have these big budgets that a lot of the other films in Hollywood do. And to be fair, a lot of films in Hollywood don't have big budgets anyways, right? I mean, a majority of the filmmaking that's done in Hollywood is done on these independent / micro level budgets, right?
Yeah, well, I think, listen, it really is, you just never know, I think with people like Scorsese, who's, I think, probably one of the best American filmmakers, if not the best American filmmaker. The guy has so much talent, and, I think whether he had a lot of money or not, he can make a great film. I think that's how much Scorsese, how much talent he has. I think the same thing with the Italian filmmaker who, a lot of people ask me, where did I go to school? Like I said, it was with the early big filmmakers I worked with, but really how I learned how to direct, the main way, understanding the intellectual aspect of directing, you have to do some kind of school. I didn't get that, so I watched Federico Fellini over and over and over for 2 years. I watched every one of his films over and over and over and over again, and he taught me by watching. Sometimes you can learn by watching films, and his films are so unique and interesting and like dreams. You learn so much about feeling, and he's another director that, I don't think it was about the money. I think, of course, he had some money, but there are other times he didn't have money, and he made masterpieces. So there are certain directors that you can learn from and you can emulate that don't have money, that make just masterful films. And, it's that whole thing, sometimes when you don't have the money, you create because you have to. You have to. Sometimes, in Hollywood, you get these big budgets, and sometimes people want to have fun. It's all about the party, and, about the, how much partying you can do on the set, and, how much you can spend, and then next thing it's a big film. It looks good, the DP, but there's just something missing. That happens a lot. You see a lot of films that, okay, it's a film, and it's a damn good-looking film, but there's a certain soul missing in it because it wasn't really about the creativity, and that happens all the time. And that's why I admire very rare do I admire filmmakers, because not all of them are brilliant, and that's obvious. But like my three favorite filmmakers are, and this is my opinion, people can differ, but my favorite three filmmakers are Scorsese, Federico Fellini, and David Lynch. I think those three filmmakers create, of course, Scorsese and Lynch both learned from Fellini. Without Federico Fellini, neither one of them could have had the majestic films they make. I think they both learned, as I did, not comparing myself to them because I'm probably not nearly the guy they are, but they learned from Fellini. Fellini was the brilliant genius who a lot of us took from. And those three filmmakers, if anybody wants to direct and they have any talent, to watch Fellini, David Lynch, and Scorsese. Of course, there's many other wonderful filmmakers, but those are three that I admire.
What who do you take your acting inspiration from? Since we're on the topic of inspiration.
Well, I was the only one crazy enough to play Marlon Brando. So, my mother before she passed away, she kept saying to me, you got to do Brando, you got to do Brando, you got to do Brando, and I kept thinking, are you kidding me? You got to be a little crazy to think you can play Brando. Who in the world would think they could ever pull off Brando? And I kind of felt the same way when I did Polanski, because I didn't think I had the weird or nerdiness he had at all. But my set designer said, you can do it. I know you can, and I started watching him. And I think Brando is an inspiration to me. I played him, but and it's the only movie ever done where somebody's played him. But I think obviously he was an inspiration to me. He was a brilliant actor. His emotions were so, so dramatic when they were dramatic and so alive all the time. I think obviously he was. Another guy who I thought, and a lot of people don't know him, who was an inspiration as an actor to me, was an actor named Dirk Bogarde. I don't know if you know him or not. A lot of people don't. Yeah, if you look him up, he was a brilliant actor, and a British actor, I believe. And I think very few actors inspired me. I mean, there's obviously I loved James Dean as a kid when I was young. I mean, everybody loves James Dean, but Jimmy Dean was more than just an icon. He was a brilliant artist, and but those are the kind of actors I grew up with, watching, Dean and Brando, of course, and some of the guys we have, I don't think you can compare actors today to those guys. I don't think there is any comparison, and I'm not saying that there aren't great actors today, because there are some good. I think, funny enough, I think Leonardo's a brilliant actor. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is a great actor, and him and I were both on the cover of, I think it was either the LA Times or the New York Times. We were both going to play Dean when we were young. He was going to play the Warner Brothers, and I was going to play the family approved film. And they had us both on the cover of, it was either the LA Times or the New York Times. We were both going to play Dean, and he ended up dropping out, and I was going to be the first guy to play Dean before all these other movies on in the or it was either the late 80s or early 90s. Rod Lurie did a book about it called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And what happened was I was selling Hawaiian trips in LA and trying to sell carpet. I was a real poor guy when I was young, and they gave me this part to play James Dean, and I was obviously so excited. But what happened was Leonardo, he dropped out of the Warner Brothers one, and the independent one I was doing was a receptive shoot. They had the money in the bank, everything was great, and the producers pulled up to a stoplight, and some security guy that they hired, it's in a book called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Rod Lurie did, but they pulled up to a stoplight, and all the producers, right when I was ready to shoot the film, got murdered. So, my life changed very rapidly because I was on my way to becoming, an actor star, playing James Dean early on, as Leonardo was going to play the big one. He dropped out later, but so I was set. But then when that happened, I went back to sweeping floors at the studio, so I had a big fallout with that one. And then later on, of course, I got blood in, blood out, and my career as an actor went in. But my inspirations, I'm going all over the place, my wonderful ADHD gift. Yeah, my inspiration or I'd say Brando was my great inspiration, and I love the actors from the 40s and the 50s, and as a female, even though I'm a man, I was also, believe it or not, inspired by Ingrid Bergman, as an actor. I mean, she's a female, obviously, but I loved watching her so much that I learned by her. She was a very natural actress, and even as a man, you can learn from women, and I did. She's a brilliant actress. So Brandon was my favorite male, and I think Ingrid Bergman, who I think was the most beautiful creature that ever walked the earth, the most elegant, brilliant actress, was Ingrid Bergman in my
since you are directing and starring in films at the same time, and this will be my second last question to you. Who are some actors that you would like to, before you either retire from acting or retire from directing, who are some people that you would personally like to work with?
Well, I love Ingrid Bergman's daughter, Isabella Rossellini. I mean, I think she embodies the charisma of her mother in a kind of a more Italian way. I love her. I think she's brilliant. I got a chance to work with recently one of my favorite young up-and-coming actresses, Paz de la Huerta. I don't know if you know who she is, Paz de la Huerta. I don't know what you think of her, but I just thought she was fabulous, charismatic woman, interesting to work with.
She seems like a character for sure.
Yeah, well, I kind of love women like this and characters like this because, there's obviously they're not mundane, and growing up with actresses, like Betty Davis and all these people that were so intense, and so emotional, and a little nutty. I agree. Hey, I worked with Faye. She was a genius, but, unique to work with. And people like that, where their emotions are so on the edge, it's hard to go from that to somebody who's kind of boring and mundane and non-charismatic, with or without the unique mental patterns. You know, so for me, I like to see. I would much rather see as a director somebody with all their emotions on their tips of their little finger, you know, than to have somebody that is boring and politically correct and says all the right things and, you know, votes for the right president. You know, that to me is so mundane. I'd rather be a gardener, you know. I love to show up on a set and see some excitement, something unique happen. And, you know, I don't, funny enough, when I work, I don't use slates. Sometimes I even throw the script as far away as I can from the actor so we can start doing things that are unique. I obviously like to stay in control of the story and the stuff, but I really like to create on the set. And I think Daniel Day-Lewis is another guy I'd love to work with. I think he's a brilliant actor. Daniel Day-Lewis. I know I was getting off track here, but your question was who would I like to work with? So yeah, I think Daniel Day-Lewis would be a wonderful guy to work with. You know, I can't really think of a lot of people today that I could say, wow, I can't wait to work with him, you know, and that's sad because I don't think it's like the plethora of actors we had, you know, growing up. You and I think you're younger than me, but that I had to grow up with, you know. So, yeah, there are a few actors I'd love to work with. I think for me, I want to find the next actors. I would really like to find the next Ingrid Bergman or the next Brando. I want to find them. There's somebody out there waiting to come out, you know, that's not politically correct. That's not, you know, a cookie cutter actor. I want to find the next person who has such emotions that when people see them or her or both of them, that they can't help but watch them. That's what I had growing up. You know, Marlon Brando and Dean and all these wonderful actors. And, you know, like I said, you know, I tell you there is a woman that I would love to work with, that another person that does embody this kind of thing that I really think is lacking nowadays. And I think somebody I'd really love to work with is Nicole Kidman. I think Nicole Kidman is one of the most underrated actresses and one of the most underrated beauties. I just love watching her. She's one of the few modern actresses that I can say I love to watch. I love Nicole Kidman.
And yeah, I haven't seen her in enough stuff recently, so.
See, she needs pushed. I'd really like to take her and give her a nervous breakdown. Sounds a little sadistic, but hey, you know, I guess it's apropos for the modern world, you know. But I'd really like to push her, you know. I really like to give her a nervous breakdown on set and show her what she really can be. Because I really believe that she has something so deeply mad within inside of her that I see that nobody's really got out yet all the way. That I can see that it would be a wonderful chance to pull something out of her as a mad woman that I see deep within inside that beautiful classical, you know, pale skin of hers. I think that she's something really mad inside of her that I'd love to bring out. You know, one of my favorite films, Eyes Wide Shut, by Stanley. He's such a wonderful director. Another director I loved watching was Kubrick. I think he was a great director. And also, I love the way he kind of exposed his own family, so to speak. When I say family, I mean the secret family. So you know these decadent whack jobs. There's so many of them. I've met so many throughout Europe and U.S., especially Hollywood. You know, he kind of exposed it in a really elegant way in Eyes Wide Shut. And Fellini did early on, actually, but people saw it as comedic. But I saw a lot of his exposure to the secret family and some of his stuff that really would take a whole hour and a half to explain that one. But I think Stanley did that, and I think he was so brilliant in his movie Eyes Wide Shut. It's actually, and I can't really say that I've ever really enjoyed watching Tom Cruise, because I haven't. I don't really enjoy watching him. But I think he was really good in Eyes Wide Shut. And that just goes to show you that if you have a brilliant director like Kubrick, and, you know, he could take somebody that's kind of, mundane, yet a little, I think Cruise has charisma, but not the most brilliant actor. And yet, if you have such a brilliant director like Stanley Kubrick, you can make this person more interesting, and I think he did with Cruise in that movie. So, and I think Nicole Kidman, once again, I couldn't take my eyes off her. That's seldom. That's such a rarity, to say I can't take my eyes off somebody.
Well, and especially sometimes if it's someone that you're not particularly fond of to begin with either.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you said it better than me. That's exactly it. I wasn't too fond of watching, but I loved watching him in that movie, which just goes to show you, man, it's synchronicity, man, whether it's the director, the script, but all these things, and sometimes it happens. And the guy could do 99 movies and I'm not interested, but that one thing comes together. And this is why, you see sometimes this happen in Hollywood films and outside of Hollywood films and European films. You get this certain synchronicity together, whether it's the script or the actors or the feeling, the emotion, and something happens beautiful. And it hits, man. It's like hitting a horse race, a long shot on a horse race, and the guy comes in, something happened, it made the horse come in. All these different variables, and that's what happens with films that you just can't forget. Something happens in it, and it's very rare that I can say that I want to watch a film more than once.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. There very few films have me going back to them for repeat viewings.
Yeah, same here.
Are you working on anything now that you would like to talk about?
Yes, I have a film coming out called New York Murder. It's not going to be a theatrical, but I chose that because I had to move on for some various reasons. And I had to let it go it's going to be coming out digitally. It's an interesting film, and it stars Gabriel Tang, who's a newcomer, who's a Chinese actor, who's just one of those people that he's not big yet, but I think he will be. Love to watch this guy. He's such a brilliant new actor. And it's about a story about his mother's Chinese, his father's part Italian, part Chinese. They grew up in New York, Little Italy. And his mother and father, the father's a gambler and he loses money and he needs to get some money. So he goes to the Italian family and he makes a loan that he otherwise shouldn't have done. And the poor boy's watching all this stuff. Gabriel Tang, when the character he plays when he's young. Another kid plays him, but when he's older, he plays the older version of this boy that watches his parents get murdered by the mafia. He grows up and he escapes the murder. He almost gets killed with him, but he escapes out the back window. And we fade out and we come up to recent times, and he's a bank manager. And he was educated in a pretty good way. He was adopted and, then went on his own. He was in an orphanage. And he grows up, and it shows how this guy in the daytime is a bank manager, very pristine and very clean cut and very in line and very organized, pristine. But yet at night, he has a double life as a sadomasochist and goes to all these very strange underground dark bars looking for pleasure to fulfill his mind, which was caused by the murder of his parents in front of him. And it shows the real seediness of these people's lives that get so far in debt and in depth with the sadomasochistic lifestyle that they can't come back because, it's almost like innocence is, lost innocence, and it's almost like drugs, I compare it to like drugs in the film where, you start taking a little hit and then you take another hit and then you need more and more and more sadomasochism and more insanity to feed the demons, so to speak. And that's what New York Murder is. That's coming out, I think it's June 28th on iTunes. And usually I don't pitch too hard a film that's coming out digitally, but that film I do because I really love working on that film. And Gabriel Tang is brilliant in it. And it's something I'm very proud to say that I have coming out, even though it didn't get a theatrical. And I could have got a theatrical, but I had to move on because of the time thing. And another movie that I'm working on now that really I've been spending some time on writing the script is called Luz, which is L-U-Z in Spanish, which means light. like enlightened or light, And it's about a postman. Think of a young Jack Nicholson, postman, who's married to a very wonderful, kind of mundane girl, has a little girl, and, in his 40s and, kind of done a lot in his life as a drug addict and alcoholic and got off it and did it for his daughter. And he used to be a bigger guy and a musician, but then he kind of lost it all because of his drinking, alcohol and drugs. And he becomes a mailman and sort of, goes out to the pasture, so to speak, with him and his wife in this kind of mundane area in L.A. And he's living his life and sort of becoming a goody two-shoes. And all of a sudden, across the street, a little bit better neighborhood. It's one of those neighborhoods where one side of the street is okay, but the other side's a lot better. And there's this beautiful aristocrat, this Spanish aristocrat, and she happens to be on drugs and really heavy. She got hooked on heroin, but yet she's a flamenco dancer at night. She's trying to hang on to her life. Her parents have practically disowned her. They want to get rid of her because she's making the family look bad in Europe. A real aristocrat. She's a countess. And these two people who otherwise would never meet because he delivers her mail one day and tries to help her as she's in a real bad position on drugs. He kind of brings her back to life, and they become friends. And instead of him helping her come out of these drugs, come out of this dark life that she chose to do, she brings him all the way back into hell with him and brings him back on drugs worse than he had ever been, and practically loses his wife and his daughter. And it really is an interesting, darkly romantic, if you can call it a romance. It's more of a dark, it's almost like Blue Velvet. You can't really call it a romance, but there is romantic interlude there. But what happens is these two people who otherwise wouldn't be together come together and lose in the movie, in the script I have now. And I plan on shooting it in November. And the thing is, what happens is they come together. They should never be together, but they end up becoming the closest friends ever. An aristocrat and a blue-collar guy. Two people that would never be together. But because of drugs and because of this strange synchronicity that happens, they come together. And in the end, the lesson is that, there's a lot of lessons in it about love and hate and anger and drugs. But the real lesson is that a blue-collar and an aristocrat family can never be together because it's like oil and water. They're never the parents are never going to accept him, and the other side's never going to be able to understand. And it's very strange, this aristocracy that's still alive in Europe, which I've experienced recently. And if you look at it as a blue-collar American like I was growing up, you look at it as such a unique world, It's so different, these people. And it's whether they have money or not, they are uniquely different. Because even the ones who lose the money and are completely broke and are like living in a garden somewhere, they still have this unique difference than, for example, a blue-collar person. And people, I don't think, realize and haven't seen those worlds together too much to kind of understand. And it's a kind of a world that I want to expose. Well, I'll be filming Lose in November, so I would say December, June. I would say I probably will be taking it to Cannes in May of next year. So, this film is something I want to take my time on. And Lose is, it's a kind of a thing, I've done a lot of movies. I've done gangster movies, action. Sometimes you have to do things to stay alive. But this is an art piece that I really took a lot of time writing, and still, I finished the first draft, and I'm really, really so excited for Lose, because Lose is something that I'm going to really put everything that I've ever gone through in my life, and every emotion, everything I've ever learned as an actor or director from all the famous or infamous people, or unfamous, I should say, people, and everything I've ever learned I want to put in this, because it's one of those things that I can say that I want to do before I leave this earth. It's that important to me. So, Lose is very important to me. I really want to express this story between this blue-collar male worker and this beautiful Spanish aristocrat.
All right, big thanks to Damian Chapa for sitting down and talking with me about his time on the film. We've talked a little bit about the performances of Seagal and some of the other cast members, and I kind of cut us off there talking about Erika Eleniak, she's not terrible as a damsel in distress, but I don't think she's that good either.
Yeah.
She doesn't bring a whole lot to the role.
I feel like she doesn't have. I'm confused about her character in general a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I feel like that's
like, why are you here?
Exactly. It just felt strange.
She was there to be eye candy because they like the USO used to do that and they still do.
Right.
It's just weird that she came on the helicopter with all the villains and she wasn't a villain to me. That's the basic.
Oh, but that's the sequel. No, I'm kidding.
I would. Oh.
I'm assuming no one from this film other than Seagal comes back in the sequel, right?
As far as I know, no. Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct on that one. It's been a long time though, and I really don't plan on seeing the sequel anytime soon.
But it has Katherine Heigl in it.
Yeah.
Remember when she was an actress?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do.
Not making cat food commercials.
Oh, I really liked her too.
I used to be on Grey's Anatomy. Now I make cat food commercials. The Katherine Heigl story.
That's another person that you never hear good things about her as far as her on-set personality.
Oh no, no.
Probably why she's not doing anything anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's from what I've heard, her inability to be like a decent human being is what drove her out of the business.
You know, one of the things about Under Siege that I think is really strong is not only do you have the people that we've talked about, but so many of these people like Cole Meany showing up and Raymond Cruz and Bernie Casey. I mean, just as you're watching the movie, you're just like, hey, I know that guy. I've seen him in everything. I mean, what is that guy? Is it Troy Evans, the guy who is part of that the crew that they first release? And he's got that great, like, kind of like weird voice, but I love his voice. And he's like character actor supreme showing up.
I just always remember Troy Evans from Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yes.
As Pedactor, because he found out that Sean Young was a transvestite.
Right.
And so he got murdered because of it.
And of course, he was in Demolition Man as one of the many cops who I just absolutely love that film.
Demolition Man. Mellow Greetings. That's Demolition Man, not Judge Dredd, right?
Correct.
Okay, those two movies are literally the same film.
Oh, no.
I mean,
Demolition Man is so much better than Judge Dredd.
Oh, come on. Judge Dredd has Max von Sydow in it.
I know, but...
And he gets eaten by
cannibals.
Wasteland cannibal. Man, Max von Sydow has made some questionable acting choices in his life, namely anything that had Stallone in it.
Well, he always pays the bills, though.
It does. That is correct. Glenn Morshower is in Under Siege as well, as one of the many characters who thinks that Steven Seagal's Ryback is a total dickhead.
Yes.
Yeah. Just one of the many characters who's like, this guy's an asshole. Yeah, he is.
And what's the name of the guy? There's a lot of familiar faces when they cut back to like the Joint Chiefs kind of thing. Oh God, I can't remember the guy who was in Pump Up the Volume, who isn't acting anymore, but he used to show up as like military douchebag a lot.
Military upper up number 1, 2, 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really enjoy this movie, but it does kind of just go through all the tropes.
Andy Romano, that's his name.
It does go through all the tropes, though.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like every trope known to man. And then they're going to blow up the boat if they don't finish it, like get the villains fast enough. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then having it, we're gonna light up Hawaii with this nuclear weapon. And yeah, it's fantastic.
I actually forgot that Tom Wood plays the guy who's in charge of guarding Steven Seagal.
Oh, yeah.
After he gets locked up. And he's like, don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Dead. It's...
Call up to the CO. Just
call him.
Yeah.
Just call him. That was fireworks. You fucking moron. You're dead now. I will say, though, we've talked about the performances, and I do think that Tommy Lee Jones... I don't feel like I've seen him as a villain enough times.
Yeah, because he was so good.
Yeah.
Right. Like Tommy Lee Jones has a face for Westerns. So, the only other film that I can think of off the top of my head, and I'm sure, Mike, your vast film knowledge will correct me, but, Batman Forever.
That's right.
Two-Face in Batman Forever.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? I can't...
Yeah, talk about unhinged. He's definitely all kinds of crazy in that movie.
He goes all in on that shit.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't really ever think of him as like a villain in most things.
Yeah. I mean, one of his classic roles is the Executioner song, where he plays Gary Gilmore, but who killed a lot of people. But yeah, that's generally I think of him as beleaguered, usually a lawman, or actually he did a pretty great job being a sleazeball in Natural Born Killers.
Oh, that's right. That's what I was thinking of. He was great in that too. Yeah.
Oh man, never seen that movie either.
Oh. I don't know how that would hold up these days, but I definitely like it. When he was younger, I mean, Executioner's song aside, movies like Rolling Thunder and The Eyes of Laura Mars, he was amazing in. Oh, and Coal Miner's Daughter. But I'm trying to remember if he was the villain of Eyes of Laura Mars or not. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I don't remember him being the villain, but I do remember him just being pretty great.
I remember seeing him in Love Story. That's his first film, right?
No, I've never actually seen Love Story.
Oh, dear God.
Yep.
Mike, but love means never having to say you're sorry.
I know, so I'm not sorry for not seeing it.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't rush out and see it.
There's one that I've always wanted to see, which is Black Moon Rising that he was in, and I still need to check that one out.
That's a John Carpenter film, right? It's written by Carpenter.
Yeah, written by him. Oh, I know. He was great in JFK as Clay Shaw, speaking of another Oliver Stone film.
Oh, wow.
I've never seen JFK, and I've always wanted to because it just sounds insane.
JFK definitely holds up better years later than Natural Born Killers, I'm sure.
Oh, I love both of those movies.
I mean, I loved Natural Born Killers when I saw it the first time, and the second time, and the third time, but I don't know how I would like it now.
I saw it for the first time in college a couple years ago, and I loved it.
Okay,
So,
good.
I don't know, but I loved it.
The only thing I know about JFK is I think it's the same thing that most people know about JFK.
Back and to the left?
Back. And well, it's Kevin Costner doing that like ridiculous Southern accent. Because he's like clearly from like California, and back and to the left. Like that's not how people talk. Especially not in Louisiana,
Right.
where this is set. Like, come on, dude.
Oh, I just thought of another villain role that Tommy Lee Jones was in. He was Ty Cobb in Cobb, and not a lot of people like Ty Cobb.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Even though like the movie's about him.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, it was pretty much about what a jerk he is.
Right.
But it was funny because I can't remember the name of the other guy that's in the movie. Robert, the guy who was in Batman. Oh, shit. What was his name? Robert Wool. I can't stand Robert Wool. So I just kept hoping that Ty Cobb would pull up a bat and start beating him to death in it.
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones, you're really right. He does have this kind of reputation of playing like the lawman / stern authority figure. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see him playing this like hippy dippy, supposedly, asshole with the bandana on, who's just like, fuck the government, man. You guys fucked us over, and so I'm going to fuck you guys up. It's nice to see that character and having him play it.
Yeah.
Because it feels so different from what I'm used to seeing Tommy Lee Jones as.
Well, he is in one of the best scenes of the entire film. I mean, the scene I always go back to when he's explaining why he's being the way that he is, and he's got that whole, I got tired of coming up with last-minute desperate solutions to impossible problems created by other fucking people. Mm. But then fucking Seagal, man, with that thing about you and me, we're puppets in the same sick game. We serve the same master. He's a lunatic and he's ungrateful, but there's nothing we can do about it. We're the same.
Steven Seagal truly has a way with words and line delivery.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it cracks me up looking at the guy who wrote the film. I mean, his CV is so spotty, man. He's just done some really horrible things, like Pretty Woman and Blank Man, and then him and Andrew Davis getting together again in '96 and doing Chain Reaction, which I don't think anybody has gone back and done like a reevaluation and said like, oh no, this is actually a classic and everybody missed it the first time. I think everybody's pretty much in agreement that that movie kind of sucks.
I mean, I love Keanu Reeves, so I have like a soft spot in my heart for Keanu Reeves. I don't. Am I like the only person who likes Keanu Reeves?
I love Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Okay.
But come on, he's made some bad movies.
Yeah.
No,
true.
he totally has. But at the same time, that movie is just like, there's a lot of these 90s movies that are just like 90s cheese.
Yeah.
And it's just like 90s, like generico McGeneric action movies. And Chain Reaction, I'm trying to think what the other one is. Oh, I can't remember this. I'm having a Mike White moment here where I think Chain Reaction is one movie and it's totally not.
Uh-oh.
Like there's another movie where they like at the end of the film they get like trapped in a tunnel and they like have to climb out and there's like a chemical agent and it like melts the bad guy, and I totally thought that was a Keanu Reeves movie and I thought it was Chain Reaction, but it's not.
Why is that a Mike White moment?
Well, because you did that for Ip Man where you're like, I thought this was Ip Man the whole time.
All right. Whew.
That was last week, wasn't it?
Do I have a reputation for
Yes, I just fucking forgot one time, and it's never gonna leave me. No, yeah, that was because it's like that. I thought I was watching one movie, and it's totally not.
Right.
Like that is when I watched Chain Reaction, I was like, I think this is the movie. This is the movie that has Rachel Weisz in it.
It's kind of like a prequel to Constantine, you know?
Oh God.
Now that's a Keanu Reeves movie.
That is a good goddamn movie.
It is.
I wish I could remember for the life of me. I'm gonna have to look it up. This is bugging me. Keanu Reeves, kind of the same thing as Steven Seagal. He was doing these kind of big action movies in the 90s. He had Speed, Memnonic, Chain Reaction, The Matrix, and then he kind of, he's obviously kind of transitioned back into doing that. But Steven Seagal has never really come back from being the straight to DVD guy.
Right. Well, when it comes to Keanu, God, I can't believe we're comparing the careers of Keanu Reeves and Steven Seagal, but when it comes to Keanu, at least like he would mix it up. It was for every Point Break, there was a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. For every one of these action films, there was a My Own Private Idaho kind of thing. So he wasn't just one type of person.
Yeah, Steven Seagal is pretty one note.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like all of his characters in all of his films, for the most part, all run together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the only thing that really separates them is their outrageous names.
Right. Casey Ryback, Mason Store. Gino Felino. Because we really run out of fucking choices for Italian names. His name might as well have been Lasagna McPenne. I mean, it's like that just like level of just like horse shit. And you're right. Keanu actually has some like depth as an actor, and Steven Seagal, I don't think Seagal's a bad actor. I don't think Seagal is an actor at all.
Yeah.
He's kind of just like a glorified stuntman, right?
Yeah, that's how I sort of always thought of him. But
I mean, that's where he got his start. I mean, he got his start being the stuntman and the choreographer for Bond movies, for Never Say Never Again and A View to a Kill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, where he broke Sean Connery's wrist, which I'm surprised didn't get him like blackballed into the ground ever working in Hollywood ever again.
Don't let that little bastard ever back on the set.
Right? I can just like imagining, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that, where Seagal, like a young Steven Seagal, breaks Sean Connery's wrist. Like a 50-year-old Sean Connery. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, Seagal has never really come back from it. He had 2 films in the mid-2000s, Exit Wounds and Half Past Dead, that came out in theaters. And then he was in Machete, but that didn't go to theaters either.
That didn't go to theaters?
It says it didn't. I thought it might have for like a minute.
Yeah, I thought it did.
I guess maybe it did like for like maybe like a week or something.
Hot second, maybe, yeah.
No, I guess it did. It did. I don't know what Wikipedia is talking about. I was like, that doesn't sound right, but I'll go with it because Wikipedia says it.
Can't trust Wikipedia.
Well, didn't it appear before the movie actually came? Like it was a trailer in another.
Right. Yeah. It was a trailer in Grindhouse.
That's what it was.
Right.
That's what, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't part of the trailer.
That's right.
Yeah.
But he's like the main villain in Machete.
Is he?
I totally don't remember that movie at all.
Yeah, I'm mixing it up with the second one because I'm like, I thought it was Mel Gibson. Yeah.
No, yeah. At the end of the first Machete, it's Danny Trejo versus Steven Seagal.
Oh, wow.
Which always cracks me up because Danny Trejo is who Steven Seagal is chasing after at the beginning of Marked for Death.
Oh, nice. It all comes full circle.
Right? And now Steven Seagal is the washed-up actor. And Danny Trejo is the one who's getting all the, all the roles. God damn, Danny Trejo.
Love that
There's
guy.
a real man. There's a real man.
Yeah. Cleaning up. Yeah.
I used to be a drug dealer, and now I'm like a big-time actor.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, Mike, final thoughts on the film and skip it or watch it, best performance.
Oh, God. Yeah, definitely watch it. I still love this movie. Definitely skip the sequel, but watch the original. You won't be disappointed. And it's nice to see how many people from this came back on The Fugitive. So it's kind of a nice, it'd be a great double feature, I think.
Well, because Tom Wood plays a pretty big part in The Fugitive.
Mm-hmm. And Tommy Lee Jones, of course.
Yeah, and then his character dies in U.S. Marshals, but they pretend like that happened. Oh.
Yeah, but he'll be back for the third one.
Well, wasn't there already a third one?
I don't know. Is there?
The Hunted?
No, I don't think.
Wasn't that like a spiritual sequel?
Well, there was The Hunted that Andrew Davis directed that wasn't that, and then there was.
I'm talking about the Friedkin one.
Oh, right. Oh, God, that was terrible.
But it's like a spiritual third sequel because it's Tommy Lee Jones chasing down someone.
God, it's just so bad, though.
Tommy Lee Jones chasing down yet another convict.
Yeah, I saw that one at the theater, and I was just like, I can't believe how horrible this movie is. I mean, I would say a better third Fugitive film would be that one with I'm trying to remember. Okay, Wesley Snipes was in U.S. Marshals, right?
Yes.
I want to say there's another Wesley Snipes film where he's wrongly convicted. I could be wrong about that one, but that seems like a better third movie.
Was he wrongly convicted for tax?
For tax evasion, yeah. Oh, wait, no, I'm just thinking of his real life. Okay.
Oh, shit. Never mind. I was just thinking about Wesley Snipes. They actually paid Tommy Lee Jones in real life to chase down Wesley Snipes, who was tax evading.
Exactly. Flew over to Africa with his team where Wesley was hiding out, outside of the country and everything. Yeah.
I used to remember U.S. Marshals having Robert Downey Jr. in his I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I mean, everybody loves nobody loves Wesley Snipes. Everybody loves Robert Downey Jr., but people like to forget that he was in The Shaggy Dog,
right.
U.S. Marshals, or a lot of stuff in the 80s. That's just god awful.
I'm trying to remember the movie. There was one that he was in where it was one of those movies that was supposed to come out like in 96, and then it was supposed to come out in 97, then it was supposed to come out in 98, and it just like kept getting pushed off, and then when it finally came out, people were just like, we waited all these years for this is terrible.
I always remember him and this is like super, if someone knows what I'm talking about, please email me, in Johnny Be Good.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With Uma Thurman and Anthony Michael Hall?
Oh, yeah. That was one of many Anthony Michael Hall films, yes.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. That was up there with A Gnome Named Norm, I believe.
Oh, my God. Like, I remember him from that and just being like, what the hell is this? I mean, he was also in Weird Science.
Oh, yeah.
As, like, the dickhead guy, right?
Yes.
I've only seen that movie one time, so.
Oh, gosh. You didn't grow up when I grew up because I was on all the time. And I found out what the movie was. It was called Restoration.
The movie that just kept not coming out?
And it finally came out. Apparently it was 91, 92, 93, 94, and it finally came out in 95.
From the looks of that poster, Sam Neill's rocking a crazy mustache. I think it might have sold me on it right there.
There you go.
It's just, I think people like to, oh, fucking Steven Seagal, he's awful. I mean, Steven Seagal still has time to come back and have his Seagal-assance. I mean, people, I think 10 years ago would never have said, fucking Matthew McConaughey, that guy's terrible, he's in chick flicks. Look at him now.
Yeah.
There's still time. Or Robert Downey Jr., I mean, really, in 2006, he was in The Shaggy Dog.
Yeah, that's right.
2 years later, he was in Iron Man.
Then, yeah.
A year after Shaggy Dog, he was in Zodiac. I don't think it's too late for Steven Seagal. I say that.
Yeah.
I say that. I don't know. Might be. What about you, Sean? Final thoughts. Skip it or watch the best before.
This is a fun movie. It's like, for me, if you like Die Hard, if you like those fun, I love Lethal Weapon, and this just rung so many bells for me. So I really liked it. I say watch it. It's a fun movie. I'm definitely not curious about the sequel. As far as I'm concerned, this is a standalone. So definitely worth a watch. My favorite performance was Tommy Lee Jones for sure. But I was pleasantly surprised to see like all of these actors who I had like preconceived notions about, but had never really seen them perform before. So it's like, it was fun. I enjoyed this movie.
I'm with you guys. It's a watch for sure. I think this is Steven Seagal's most successful film for a large majority of the population. Mm-hmm. It's like his most approachable film because it's kind of like like you said, it's Die Hard on a boat. So you've kind of already seen this before. So it's not like really pushing people to be like, all right, so he's like a mysticism cop from New York who's fighting a Seven-esque killer with Keenan Ivory Wayne's. Like, that sounds dumb. Like, this is like, it's Steven Seagal on a boat killing Tommy Lee Jones and some like mook guys who one of them happens to be from Star Trek Voyager. Is it Voyager? Next Generation?
Which guy?
Cole Meany.
Oh, he was Next Generation.
Okay, that's right. I always get them mixed up because TOS for life.
Yeah. It was funny because we rewatched the Dharmaka Chalad episode last night, and I was just like, ooh, Cole Meany is in this one. I hope he's not going to, I hope he's on the good guy's side this time.
I have still yet to get into TNG, so...
Oh. Well, I would recommend you skip the first 2 seasons, maybe. Or look up whenever Roddenberry died, and then watch the episodes after that. The show gets a lot better.
Oof. Those are some mighty big words.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Gene Roddenberry did not have the best track record there at the end.
No.
Yeah. And best performance, I have to go with Steven Seagal. I liked everybody else, but this is Steven Seagal at his most believable as a action star, where it doesn't feel like he's just kind of like walking through the scenes and just giving his lines just because. So he's just like trying to get to the action scenes and the lines aren't important, because that's what it feels like in some of the other films.
Yeah.
So what do you think the film has on Rotten Tomatoes critic and audience score?
Ooh.
Critic 85, audience 92.
Ooh, that's a really great guess. I guess I'll just say respectively 70 and 80.
Critic is 75%.
Ooh, ouch.
Audience is 61.
Ooh. What?
I am surprised that the audience score is that low.
Me
That
too.
is. Wow.
I think people just don't like Steven Seagal.
Wow.
Again, he's not bad.
Yeah, I didn't think he was a problem at all from this movie. I mean,
I don't think he's bad.
No.
I understand people not liking him, but I think it's undeserved hatred.
yeah.
Like really undeserved.
Wow.
So 61, yeah. Couldn't you at least give 10% for Erica Leniak's rockin' tits? That one scene that feels so shoehorned into the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, we need our tit quotient. Die Hard didn't even have... I guess Die Hard had one quick tit scene when those people are being, like, thrown out of the office.
Right.
But, like, we need our tit quotient. Erica Leniak, you were in Playboy.
Go.
So, here you go. And Steven Seagal just, like, looks awkwardly. He's like, what the... what am I doing here? Here's my jacket. So, oh, God. Before I talk about this Monday's Kulturecast, Mike, what is going on with y'all over at the Projection Booth podcast?
Well, we are kind of doing almost a fairy tale month over at the Projection Booth. We've talked about things like Apocalypse Now and Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. Some call it Loving, which is also known as Sleeping Beauty. And then kind of wrapping things up with Celine and Julie Go Boating, where we have the pleasure of Mr. Chris Stachiw on there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it with much trepidation. So...
Should be an interesting conversation.
It'll be interesting. It won't be, Seagal's cool. Yeah, he's a bad actor, but he's cool. It won't be that. That's for sure. What about you, Sean?
Nothing new. Our show, Cyrano, A Love Letter to a Friendship, is still running throughout the end of the month as a part of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. So if you're in Hollywood, check it out. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm Shonifer, and on Facebook, I'm Sean Liang.
And your play, some of the proceeds are going to a good cause as well.
That's right, yes. The tragedy in Orlando, which is, God, it's still not real. I mean, I'm still like looking at all these articles coming out and stuff. So yeah, it's that's our little throwback. So please come out and support us.
Yes, please support them. Support local art, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, live art.
Live art. You can follow me on Twitter at Kulturestash and cultureshocked.com at culture_shocked. And if you like what you're listening to now, head on over to cultureshocked.com/Kulturecast and check out 100+ episodes of the Kulturecast. Mike's been on a couple. If you like listening to Mike and I talk about, have we talked about a good movie, Mike?
Well, Constantine and Under Siege.
I mean, Constantine's not like good. I mean, it's good, but I guess Ip Man is about as close as it gets.
Though I don't think either one of us recommended that one.
That's true. I guess Constantine then, yeah.
Yeah, and Under Siege.
Yeah, it's true. That's true, yeah. Not 2012.
No. Speaking of bad John Cusack films.
Right? Oh, dear God. How did we not bring that one up at the beginning?
I don't know.
That's like big budget John Cusack bad movie.
Oh, yeah.
He can like keep it to his like Drive Hard with Tom Jane, but 2012, Roland Emmerich. Yum, yum. And big thanks as always to Wovoka for providing the intro outro music for the podcast. That song you're hearing is Lament off their self-titled first album. And if you want to kick a couple dollars our way, it is neither cheap nor free to keep the lights on over at 0069 Culture Shock Tower. Head on over to patreon.com/culture_shocked and kick a couple dollars our way. Every little bit helps. This coming Monday, we're going to be joined by frequent guest of the Kulturecast, Quinn Fleming, and our resident Warcraft knowledgeable gentleman as we sit down to talk Warcraft, the new film from Duncan Jones that we talked a little bit about at the beginning of this Kulturecast. Big thanks as always, Mike. We love having you on. It's always a lot of fun. You bring a more you bring an air of knowledge to this Kulturecast.
I bring the culture to the Kulturecast.
Oh yeah. Shit! Otherwise, it's just two dickheads talking about movies. No, we really enjoy having you on. I know I speak for Sean and I. That
I always love being here.
And you elevate movies that like Under Siege. We had a knowledgeable conversation about a Steven Seagal film. But Jesus Christ, how did that happen? And yeah, make sure to check out next Monday's Kulturecast.